The Real Estate Photography Podcast is brought to you by TourBuzz.net, high-definition virtual tour and photograph hosting, now with interactive floor plans. Sign up for your free trial today. Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Photography Podcast with Mike Muriello. Today we are talking about marketing consultants. Just a quick introduction about why you might want to hire a marketing consultant, what you're looking for, how they're paid a little bit differently depending if they're employee or independent contractor, and just some quick tips about looking at why you'd want a marketing consultant. So first of all, why hire a marketing consultant? Well, there could be a few different reasons, and these are just the ones that I came up with off the top of my head. The first two are polar opposites. Your business could be growing or it could be shrinking. If it's growing, that might mean that you want to spend less percentage of your time working on marketing and more on photography, but you still recognize that you need to have a presence in marketing. So that's a good problem to have. Your business could also be shrinking, and you could be wondering, why is it shrinking? What can I do to combat this process and reverse it? So the other reason I say is you may just want an outside opinion of how your business stacks up against the competition. And sometimes bringing somebody from outside of the business to give you an objective standpoint of where you are is a really good idea. So let's talk about the difference between an independent contractor and an employee. And this comes down to what classification of services does the marketing consultant give you. So if you tell your marketing consultant, I said coordinator in this slide, same difference. If you tell them what to do, when to do it, where it needs to be done, and how it should be done, they are an employee. If you say no to those questions, they're an independent contractor. So more specifically, let's say you hire somebody a couple hours a week to come in, answer phone calls, answer emails, do some email correspondence, maybe give you a call in case of a scheduling error, just some basic stuff. They're an employee because you're telling them what to do. You have dictated their job responsibilities. You're telling them when they need to do it. You're telling them to be there for a certain number of hours on a certain number of days. They don't just come in when they want. You're telling them where it needs to be done. Obviously, if they're answering phones, it has to be at your place, and how it should be done. So you're telling them maybe if they were a little too curt in an email or a phone call, you might be giving them some feedback as to how you'd like it to be done. Now, if you hire a marketing consultant, they're probably going to work at their own pace, at their own location. They're going to work at their own fashion, and you're not going to dictate to them how they should be working. So you're going to have conversations about all these, but they're in charge of themselves. Think about it this way. You are an independent contractor as a real estate photographer. The only thing you might have on this one, because it's location based, is when and where, but you're determining what you're going to do and how it's going to be done. When and where are only necessary because of the address and the time you're going to meet. So it's really quite clear that you are an independent contractor. All right, let's talk about the difference too when it comes down to pays. Independent contractors, like real estate photographers, me, we're self-employed. People contract our services. In this case, you'd be contracting a marketing consultant's services. Employees are employed by you, and you delegate their job responsibilities. That's kind of just what I was saying in that previous slide. So let's talk about pay. Independent contractors do not receive compensation in the same way employees do. So employees have their taxes, in the United States anyway, Social Security and Medicare, matched by their employers, whereas independent contractors pay the full 15% self-employment tax. Right now, in 2011, well, it's 2011 is a tax holiday. Look that up if you didn't know that already. Normally, we would be doing the employee pays 6.2% Social Security and 1.45% Medicare, and then the employer matches those percentages, and it comes out to around 15%. And in 2011, the employee gets a little bit of a tax holiday to 4.2% on Social Security. But again, check that out. So the independent contractor has to pay both sides of that because they are the employer and the employed. And if someone's working for you as an independent contractor, they're going to be responsible for that those responsibilities, not you. Employees are eligible for health, or I should say in this last paragraph here, they could be eligible for healthcare benefits, stock programs, sick days, vacation days. They're not necessarily entitled to them, but they usually come with the territory. Also, employees are typically paid on an hourly or a salaried basis. And an employer automatically compensates based on a specific timetable. That's a fancy way for saying biweekly or monthly payments. Or it could be weekly. I don't really know. But, the employer and the employee have an understanding that they're going to get paid a certain number of hours or at a certain time. Independent contractors aren't random or are not automatically getting checks sent to them. Independent contractors invoice the company when the services have been rendered. But if you hire someone, here's a couple of suggestions. If you hire someone as a marketing consultant, as an independent contractor, here's a couple of ways that you can kind of determine how you might want to pay them. You might be up in the air. I don't even know how to pay an independent contractor. Well, here's a couple of ideas. If they work on specific campaigns, you can predetermine the amount they're going to get for that project. So pretend you're going to make a campaign out for interior designers in your area. All right, you're going to say, I'm going to pay you $500 for your work on this project. That could be one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is if they bring in new clients, you could say, I'm going to give you a commission percentage on the business I do with them, and then you can determine how long that commission carries. Does it carry for 6 months, a year? Does it carry for 10 jobs? How many jobs or how long does it carry? You can determine that together. You can also negotiate a commission based on volume, project, or exclusivity. So say the first project is 5%, and then the second is 6%, and it can go all the way up to 15, 16%, whatever you want it to be. So that we're creating incentives that they continue to give you business, and they keep getting money. That's the whole point. Now, say you're interviewing marketing consultants, and just a couple of things to keep in mind. A lot of people like to say, I want someone with lots of years of experience in my background. And I'm just here to say these 3 points, they're a little bit different in everyone's opinion. But first of all, you should always find out what's their experience in your area of photography. And I think it might not matter that much. I don't know that it's going to make a big difference because their opinions are much more large scale, big picture focused than say real estate photographers. I'm very into the details and blah blah blah, but they're looking at a big picture and they're looking at marketing. So just because they don't have years of experience in real estate photography doesn't mean they can't do the job. Sometimes it can mean that they can look at it from a much different angle, which could help. You might also want to be asking, what about their years of general experience? How long have they been in marketing consultant? A marketing consultant, you can determine, does that help or hurt? Do you want someone who's fresh? Do you want someone who's experienced? And you might want either one of those for different reasons. Another thing to think about is the previous clients and their portfolio of work. No matter what, they should have a portfolio of work of everything that they have worked on. Or everything they're proud of, just like we do, that we're proud of saying we worked on this. Even if they don't have anything in real estate photography, I still think everything they've worked on is transferable to your business. And the same can be said for anything that we do. And lastly, a marketing consultant should always have a contract. Even if they're an employee, but this really applies if they're an independent contractor, because it clarifies the business relationship to each other as well as anyone looking at a snapshot of either business. So let's go ahead and assume the worst. You're being audited by the IRS, again, in the States. You're being audited by the IRS, and they see that you paid out $5,000 in 2011 to a marketing consultant. They're going to immediately want to know, was this person an employee or an independent contractor? And should they have been the opposite? The first thing they're going to look at is did they have a contract? And that's really important, because if you clarify what you basically what their job responsibilities are, what their relationship is. You declare it up front. There's no question about what they did for the business. Okay, I highly recommend it, even if it does seem like overkill. All right, so basically we talked about why you might want a marketing consultant, whether or not you should hire them as an employer or a company hiring an independent contractor, and how compensation varies between the two. And again, it's always best to have a contract. So that's a quick introduction to marketing consultants. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.